Good evening, everyone. It's that time of year, this special Halloween. Woo! And it's time for all the scary stories, spooky stuff coming at you live. It's time for me to tell you all of the times that I, myself, have come into the grasp of death and how I avoided it. So tonight, that's what we're going to be discussing. I'm going to be giving you a bunch of stories on the experiences I had avoiding death and itself, because I have quite a bit, surprisingly. But I'm not by myself tonight. Tonight, I also have... Oops, wrong button again and again. I'm really mocking this up. I want to welcome to the show my wife, Kelsey. Let me turn your mic on.
Fail.
Yeah.
Hello.
And our baby Anna is with us as well, as you can see her. She was moving around a little bit earlier, but not right now. So let's get right into the show, folks. My name's Chris, and this is just another Nick Beards podcast. Welcome to Halloween. Anyway, so again, I'm a bit of a clumsy person, a bit of a klutz. I have accidents all the time, and I have managed to escape the grim grasp of death itself multiple occasions. Do you have anything you'd like to say about that, Kelsey?
I'm extremely excited to hear your stories because we've never talked about this before.
No, we have not. Now, you said yourself you didn't have that many, or you have one particular story you want to mention, but you don't really heave that, even though you're about as clumsy as I am.
I think I'm more clumsy than you.
Yeah, I would say that too. I would say you're more clumsy than I am. But ever since I was a little baby, ever since I was a child, I've always been in danger of dying. And speaking of babies, here we have another. Anna's getting a little fussy, but that's okay. For those of you that haven't seen earlier, my wife and I did have a baby recently, and that was Anna. So anyway, again, going back to being baby stuff, I've managed to escape death most of my life. Surprisingly, I've come into multiple run-ins with the Grim Reaper, more or less, ever since even I was a baby again. And the earliest recollection I have a story. You probably remember. I've mentioned this story before, but. When I was a baby, I actually cracked my head open. I cracked my head open because I fell off a dresser. And so my dad was taking a nap, and my brother and I guess we were still babies. So we were, doing I don't know what we were doing. Somehow I managed to climb up a dresser, and then I proceeded to fall off and break my head open. And when I came to, I guess, or I don't know what happened, but my dad came and found us, and he thought my brother had spilled ketchup on me and put ketchup on my head. So he thought that there wasn't anything wrong. He just assumed that it was just a mess. But then he noticed that it was, that's not ketchup, it was blood. So he rushed me to the hospital, and I had to get stitches in my head. So every time, it's always like kind of a joke with my family. And I go, "Oh, what's wrong with you, Chris?" And I go, "Oh, it's because I had my head cracked open when I was a kid," and then people will go, "Oh yeah, no, I see, it makes sense." That's kind of the joke that everybody makes because of the weird stuff that I do or weird things that I enjoy. As far as what entertainment and media goes, what do you think? Were you even listening?
I was trying to calm her down, and yes, I was, Mr. Ketchup Head. And
Ketchup Head. Okay, that's a new one. Ketchup Head. All right. But yeah, so I kind of have like multiple ones that I've tried to kind of remember and piece together. There's probably more that I don't remember, but I kind of came up with 8, and that was one of them. So I'm just gonna kind of go over these in order, and you feel free to step in whenever you want. So obviously there's the first one when I was a baby.
But I think I remember hearing that story from your dad, not from you.
Yeah. My dad brings it up a lot.
He felt bad about it, though.
He felt bad about it, but he laughs about it because, I mean, I'm fine, obviously.
I don't know about that one.
Fine, right. Anyway, so a couple of these do have to deal with water, though. My grandma owned a pool when, pretty much, I guess since my mom was a child, they swam in their backyard all the time. But that's not the only pool that I ever went to. I also went to the Recplex that we had locally where I lived, and my neighbor behind us also did have a pool. It was like one of those shallow, like kiddie pools, but it was one of the ones that were like metal, made out of like aluminum or something. It wasn't plastic.
We had one of those. It was a horse trough.
Horse trough?
Yeah. And we swam in that every summer when we were little.
Every summer?
When we were like little.
Did horses come by and drink out of it while you're swimming in it?
No, that was before we moved to the country.
But so my neighbor and everybody said the neighbor kid behind us, he was kind of a little off. He was just really hyperactive. It was very obvious that he was like ADHD. But it was like, early 90s, that stuff wasn't really like diagnosed that much. They were just like, oh, well, he's just a hyper child or stuff like that. Or, he needs a little more discipline. But anyway, so they had that little pool. Well, they set up their slide right next to it so that they could, slide into it. Well, he also thought it would be fun to jump off of it. So I was in the pool, and, he lived right behind us. So it wasn't like that far to try to just hop the fence, and I was there. And he decided to, while I was in there, he decided to cannonball into the pool. And he cannonballed right on top of me while I was swimming. And you ever had somebody hit you in the chest real hard or land on you really hard?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Takes your breath away.
It takes your breath away, and I'm underwater. So what is that? What do you think?
You just lose all your breath, and then you can't catch it.
Yeah, I literally, it felt like I was dying. I felt like I was dying because I couldn't catch my breath. Like, I was underwater, and I could get all the air knocked out of you, and it kind of like, it puts you in shock where you're just like, you can't move for a minute there.
Yeah.
I thought that was like an instance where I was like scared for my life because I never for real. I never had anything like that happen to me before. So it was really a system shock. I mean, have you ever had anybody land on you at the?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten the wind knocked out of you underwater?
No, I have not. Not that part, but I've had someone run into me while swimming, like my brother or something. Like, he's jumped on me. But it didn't like knock the wind out of me.
But yeah, that was quite the incident. I don't think I've ever actually. I think I mentioned it a couple times to my parents or maybe my brother, but like I never really like thought it was that big of a deal. But looking back on it now, like that was pretty scary. I probably could have like had some
trauma.
Not trauma. I could have seriously drowned then. I escaped death once again.
Ooh.
Another thing that I used to do a lot, and again, because I'm kind of going chronologically for like age-wise how everything went, I used to Spider-Man climb up walls. You know what that is?
Yes.
Have you ever done that?
No, I'm not strong enough.
You're not strong enough? All right.
Well, back then, I was too scared, and I've also learned from other people's mistakes a lot. So I saw some kids fall, so I'm like, nope, no thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I used to do that all the time. Anytime there was a doorway, I would go, look what I could do. Is when my arms and legs could finally reach the edges of the doors, I would brace myself on them, and I would, kind of climb up them all the way to the top as far as I could go, which was the top because it's not that far. I mean, it's like 7 feet, 8 feet.
I think that was more of a boy thing to do.
Yeah, maybe.
Or a daredevil.
I guess. But
Anna, you going to do that, huh? You gonna Spider-Man crawl?
She might. She takes a lot after her dad so far. Maybe she won't
true.
hopefully she won't be as clumsy or have as many run-ins with the Grim Reaper that I do. But so because I used to really enjoy this is one of the things I used to love to do. I would Spider-Man crawl up the walls, up the doorways, not really the walls. I'm not actually Spider-Man, but I would I took this thing that I did, and one of the regular vacation spots we would go to was Colorado, and what are there in Colorado?
Lots of rocks.
Mountains. There's mountains. There's a lot of cliff sides, things like that. And one of the places we went to was the Garden of the Gods. And I would recommend anybody that has any idea of what to do while you're in Colorado. Nowadays, everybody goes to Colorado just to go get high and get marijuana. I would say probably don't do that, but
marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana. But I wouldn't. Don't do that. Don't go to Colorado for weed. You're an idiot if you do that. But there's a lot of really nice things in Colorado, and in Colorado Springs, there's a place called Garden of the Gods, and the Garden of the Gods is basically these mountainsides that are rock formations that have naturally been shaped into these figures. And they're not exact replications of certain things. They're kind of shapen like that, and people make their assumptions, just like constellations. So you have in the park they have a little pamphlet of what each one is, what it represents. A lot of these were, I believe, named by Native Americans. I don't know if it was. It might have been some of the pioneers as well. But again, it's been when I went there when I was like 11 or 10, so it's been like a really long time since.
So I really want to go.
Yeah, I know. It's a really nice place. But one of the things that was there was a cliffside, much like a doorway, and my arm span was able to fit in that space. So, and this was a cliffside, like a legit cliffside. This was probably about 35 feet in the air, and I took it upon myself to Spider-Man climb up this cliffside. So now I made it all the way up. And what do you think happened when I got to the top?
You got scared and got stuck.
I got scared and I got stuck. No equipment, there's no safety harness that I'm wearing or anything like that. There's nothing there. So it's just me by myself and, my parents down below. And, I'm surprised they let me go ahead and do this. Looking back on it, I'm surprised they let me do it. Or maybe they didn't.
They probably didn't. You probably started when their backs were turned. And then they noticed when you're like all the way up there, like, God damn it, Chris. Where are you going?
I don't know. But anyway, so I had to climb myself all the way back down. Now, to be fair, like looking back in my head, I believe it was like 35, 40 feet. It probably wasn't that high. But because, when you're a little kid, you see things, everything looks bigger. You see things in a different perspective. So it might have been closer to 20 feet. But that's still a lot. That's still a lot. And looking down, you end up, it's kind of why sometimes I get scared of heights. It's just because like that disorienting look when you look down. That's why I tell people that are scared of heights don't look down. It's just that like disorienting thing that freaks you out in your head because you have no idea what you're looking at. So I ended up having to slowly climb my way back down, and that was the last time I ever Spider-Man climbed anything. So that was if I had slipped or anything like that, I would have seriously I probably could have broke my neck or something.
I couldn't imagine you crawling down. I thought you would have had to jump or something and someone caught you or something.
No, I had to climb my way back down. And normally, think about it like this. Normally when I did it on a doorway, I would just let myself drop back down.
You never crawled down.
I never climbed back down. So that was legit scary for me. I had no idea what to do. But I ended up making my way back down, and then I never did that again.
You were no longer Spider-Man, huh?
No, I was not Spider-Man anymore. So that same trip. Now this one's not really particularly my story. This is my brother's that I kind of want to tell, just because it seems to kind of run in my family sometimes, that we end up getting really close to hurting ourselves very badly. Now again, we go to Colorado all the time. What's another thing that a lot of people typically do?
Ski.
Well, not in the winter. Okay, in the summer.
Um, I don't know what's in Colorado,
You
so.
mountain biking.
Okay.
So we mountain biked all the way down. It wasn't. It was somewhere in Breckenridge. But I can't remember what mountain it was in particular. But we went to the top and then we biked our way down because we biked up. We biked up and then we had to bike our way back down. And on the way back down, it's going up is pretty easy because you get to go at your own pace. On the way down, you kind of don't really have that much control of where you go. There's obviously
How steep was it?
It's a mountain.
Well, some mountains are not.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how steep it is. If you're going, once you go down, you're going down.
Okay.
It was anyway. Needless to say, we were on our way down on our bikes, and we were going. My brother in particular was going a little too fast, and when you hit the brakes, you're on gravel. You know,
so you just slide.
You just slide. You don't really brake. And he almost slid. He slid on the gravel in front of this couple that was sitting on the mountainside, and he almost slid off the mountainside. But he hurt himself pretty bad. Like he had, he torn his whole leg up on how bad it was, and he didn't want to go in. He didn't want to ride anymore, and I don't blame him. You know, I don't blame him for not wanting to do that because that's really it hurts a lot. And, you know, I've hurt myself multiple times on mountain bike, not mountain biking, but just in general. I've hurt myself sliding in sports and stuff like that on my leg. It hurts. It really does. And the fact that he was freaking out. He was legitimately like, oh my God, I almost slid off the mountain. And the couple there like saw it right in front of them happen too. And they're just like,
so what did he do for the rest of the trip? Did he just walk his bike down the mountain?
No. He just rode it very slowly down. We kind of like went slower. I know he did walk some of it because he was just really freaked out, and I don't blame him.
That's what I would have done.
But we ended up getting down and then going on from there. Now this one wasn't in Colorado. The next one that I have wasn't in Colorado. But it's actually one that just came to my head. I didn't really even put it down on my list. But there's actually a scar on my stomach.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've told you about this one.
Yes, because every time I asked where the scar was from, you got mad because you thought you told me how you got the scar, but you never told me. So you'd just be like, well, you should have learned from the last time. No, you didn't tell me what the scar was from. And you finally told me what it was from, like, a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we went to a lake, a local lake. Uh-oh, now she's getting mad. So we went to a local lake, and we were just camping there. We had an RV. We were camping to go kind of like on the river, things like that. And it was nighttime. It was in the evening, and I can't remember what we were doing. I believe there was just something was going. I think there was like a campfire or something they were doing, or a barbecue, like a big RV barbecue or something. I don't remember in particular, but I was wandering around, and I was wandering around over by the lake, and there was a guy there that had an RV, and he also had a really mean dog there, and the dog ended up I didn't notice the dog there, but I remember I saw this table. It was like a picnic table with these red and green lights on there, right near the lake, and I went to go sit at it, and the dog comes running at me from the RV, and he was chained up, but I guess I was within his reach. But he came running at me, and he attacked me, and he bit my stomach open, and kind of scarred up my leg a little bit. But I mean that was pretty bad. I mean, obviously that wasn't like I was probably gonna die, but I could have got hurt really bad. I was pretty lucky to only walk away with I don't even remember like even like looking back on it, I don't remember any of the pain. I must have gone into shock because
you probably did. And then I know whenever I was younger and I hurt myself, I don't really remember the pain as much. It's like a child, they just like, they see the bigger picture, so they don't see as much as the pain and things. So that's probably what happened. But I'm honestly shocked that you still love dogs as much as you do with that happening to you
Well,
as a child.
I've always owned dogs, and I mean, a lot of people want to blame dogs for the way their attitude is, and there are certain breeds that are naturally like that. They're more aggressive. I don't blame that. But I mean, a lot of that stuff, like they're very territorial,
Yeah.
So they can't, like, I can't really get mad at animals for acting the way that they normally act.
Well, good thing. If it was Daisy that attacked you, protecting her territory, she probably would just peed on you.
Yeah.
Because that's all she marks her territory.
Yeah, that's all she does. She's like Anna. Her defense mechanism is pooping and peeing on her.
So true.
But yeah, that really, like, I remember walking towards the table, and then the next thing I remember is getting put in an ambulance and going to I don't even think it was a hospital. It was just like must have been like an urgent care or something.
They didn't have urgent cares back then.
It wasn't a hospital. I know that. It was like a medical facility in a strip mall.
It probably was their hospital if it was a rural area, because rural areas typically don't have hospitals.
Mm.
So that was probably their hospital.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember, having the gauze on my side for a while, and the rest of that vacation, I didn't really do much.
I wouldn't have either.
I mean, it was only I don't think it was like a full vacation anyway. It was like maybe like a weekend getaway.
But why would you go all the way to Colorado for?
It wasn't in Colorado.
Oh,
It was here. It was what is Table Rock Lake, I believe.
Okay.
So I believe that's over towards the Ozarks, isn't it?
It's like down by Branson, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so I believe that's where we were at. So why don't we take a break from my stories? Why don't you go ahead and tell me your little story? Your one little incident. Okay. And maybe you can think of another while we're still going.
Well, I was like Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when I was a child, so I kind of just like was not aware with anything that happened around me. But the only like story that really comes to mind for me is whenever I was learning how to drive. Me and my mom were on our way up to see my cousins. For I can't remember what it was. I think my cousin Allie was probably in a play, and me and my mom wanted to go see it. So while we were on our way, I still had my permit. So my mom was like, "Okay, well, you need to get your driving time in for the highway. Let's go ahead and have you drive." So we're in another state. So first of all, it's illegal to try to practice to drive in another state, but that's besides the case.
So you've been breaking the law ever since.
Oh yeah.
See, this is why they say women are bad drivers, is because you were breaking the law like before you were even legally allowed to drive.
Let's talk about bad drivers here, sir. Who has the worst driver record?
Hey, that's.
How many car accidents have you been in?
I can't help how many car accidents I've gotten in, okay?
But they've all been your fault.
The last one no, that's not true at all, because the last two that have happened to me were not my fault. Because I've had people back into me.
Well, that's also where you're parking, so that's technically your fault too.
No, you can see where a parked car is.
No, if it's not a designated parking spot.
If a parked car is there, when you go to your car and back out, it's still in that same spot, you know that car is there.
That's whatever. Besides this point.
Anyway, so go on with your story.
So then, it started to rain, and so my mom's like, "Okay, well, you can keep driving." Well, there's this one exit to get, or it's not really an exit. It's whenever you go from one highway to another highway, there's a curve in the road. Well, this area, you're supposed to slow down a lot just to turn. Well, I was driving, and this truck came from another lane to pass us on the curb, because I knew the curb was coming, because we've taken this road, I can't even count how many times, so I knew it was coming up. And when the truck was turning, he drifted into our lane and like almost ran us off the road. So like I had to figure out like either I need to slam on the brakes or just floor it to get past them because we were right in the middle of like their trailer hitch. So my mom's like, floor it.
Oh my God! You're like weaving in and underneath the truck.
Like it pretty much almost. So that's why I had to like it was gonna happen because they ended up in the lane we were in. Mind you, I was 15 when this happened. So like learning how to drive, this truck was obviously was being an asshole and was just trying to like fly past us and then didn't realize the curb was coming. It was the scariest moment of my life, but I seriously saw my life flash before my eyes at that moment.
Jesus. I don't think I've ever had my life flash in front of my eyes, but well, that's not true. My car accident, I kind of had that. I've kind of had that phenomenon where I totaled the car. But Jesus, you're like weaving underneath traffic like some kind of action movie.
Yeah, it was really scary.
Or no. That was in wasn't that in Christmas Vacation? Speaking of holidays, I think that was in Christmas Vacation where he's driving underneath a semi or something.
Well, in real life, cars can't really fit underneath the trailer of a semi. But
no, they can't. I mean, they can if you lower them and if it's like a...
If you lower your car and the semi's jacked up, then yeah.
Yeah.
But the standard, it's not going to happen.
No. Well, it's because the standard vehicle now is an SUV anyway. You can't... Those things just roll over by turning.
Just a quick breeze and they're
gone. But so back to me when I was a teenager. Since yours is kind of relevant to, or time wise, because we're the same. We're more or less the same age. I mentioned that my grandma had a pool in her backyard. And one of the things that not regularly happened, but we would go swimming all the time. One thing. This was like a one-off experience, and this wasn't really like like I felt like I escaped death type of thing. Like one of the things that I wanted to compare this show to was is an old Discovery Channel show called I Shouldn't Be Alive Right Now, and for some reason I couldn't find any of the artwork or any of that stuff for the show, but I really have that show's like I like that show. From what I've seen, because I remember watching a couple episodes, and I was like, some of these are really extreme experiences. Like these people are like, some of them are like impaled or something like that. But or there's like the movie with
Castaway.
Not Castaway. What's Philip DeFranco? Was it where he's the cliff.
Where he had to cut off his own arm.
Yeah, cut off his own arm.
48 or 46 hours.
Yeah, 46 hours. And I mean, like, I see that, and I was like, I felt like I've experienced stuff like that before. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that have felt like that too, and that's why it's kind of a show that can be relevant because a lot of people experience stuff like this. Again, I've experienced it a lot though, and one of the times that this was like more of an out of body experience rather than like I shouldn't be alive right now. But we were swimming, or I was really swimming by myself, and. Because my brother had gone inside and I wasn't ready to go inside yet, and I was just swimming out there. And one of the things that I like to do when I swim, you'll notice is I'll just hold myself underwater for a while.
Yes, that's what you do all the time. You scared the crap out of me the first time we went swimming, and I'm like, oh my God, did he like inhale water and is he dead?
No, it's just one of the things that I regularly do when I swim, and I don't know why or how I somehow felt like this, but it felt like I was under there for like 10 minutes. I don't know what happened. It was just like it was something like.
Did you black out?
No, I didn't pass out. I felt like I was underwater for a long time. Like it was almost felt like I was breathing the water. Like it was like not inhaling them in my lungs. It felt like I was like breathing air underwater. It was just like this weird.
Were you in Sonic? Did you get an air bubble?
Yeah, I got an air bubble in Sonic. No, I don't know what happened. It was just this weird phenomena that happened to me once. And I'm not a supernatural person. I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I know you are, and that's kind of why I wanted to tell you this story, because you enjoy that.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I know you enjoy that. But I just never, I never experienced anything like that again. But it was bizarre. It felt like I was breathing underwater for like 10 minutes. It felt like, and it was only probably reality was probably only like 30 seconds, maybe a minute at most.
Yeah.
Because it was the world record for holding your breath, I believe, is around 5 minutes.
I think it's longer than that because there's like magicians and stuff like that like are locked, have the chains and handcuffs locked on them, and they have like takes them like 10 minutes to get out, and they're holding their breath that whole time. So I believe that some people are able to hold their breath longer than that.
Yeah.
Because there's also like free divers that dive all the way deep down to, I don't even know how far they dive, but that's only on one breath. They don't have air tanks or anything like that.
I mean, again, I don't know how I managed to do it. Maybe it was holding my breath for like a really extended period of time, but I wasn't breathing anything out. Like I felt like my lungs were breathing in air and exhaling, and there was no exhaling coming out of me. And I wasn't breathing in the water. I believe this is like I think what is it? I crossed dimensions into another dimension.
Ooh,
like
spooky.
yeah, like the person that was here previously died in that instance, and I took his place, perhaps. Maybe
Got
that.
those extra 10 minutes of his air.
Yeah, I stole all of his air. But no, I seriously felt like that. It felt like I was breathing underwater. I couldn't believe it. But this might have in correlation to what I have next, which is something that I used to also happen a lot. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but I used to pass out a lot, like after standing up.
I had no idea. You never told me about that.
That's because it happened a lot when I was younger. It doesn't happen anymore.
Do you have like blood pressure issues?
No, what it is, I actually looked it up. It's something to do with blood re-rushing back to your head.
Oh, that's very common, I've heard.
Yeah, and it's if you sit for extended periods of time, or you're in.
It's called like a head rush.
Yeah, so I would actually have that a lot. So I ended up passing out a few times, in really bad situations. Like I'd gotten up to go get something to eat, and I just fell out of nowhere. I just passed out and hit my head on the floor.
Did your parents know about this?
Yeah, my mom knew about it. It didn't happen that often. It only happened a few times. I think I could, but I mean, the times where I've actually fallen over was about 3 or 4 times. But I used to but like I would have that phenomenon in my head, and I knew it was happening, so I would like kind of sit back down for a little bit, kind of ease myself back up. And that would happen a lot when I was younger. And I know it's not a hydration issue because I drank water. I drank water a lot more than what I drink now, which is bad. I need to drink more water.
Me and you both.
Yes. And I know it's not a hydration issue. I think it's not it wasn't a blood pressure issue or anything like that, because my blood pressure has always been fine. I've always had a good pulse. I was a lot more athletic back then too. I think it's just I think it was just an issue where I would stand up. Like if I stood up really fast, that's when it would happen. So I don't know exactly what there is actually a medical term for it, but I forgot what it was called because I did look it up once. And my mom knew about it, and
she's a nurse, so she would have been
it's
able to.
Nothing that to worry about. But I mean, I've fallen down pretty hard a couple times. So I could, and because obviously I cracked my head open when I was a baby, I could have cracked my head open again.
Oh boy.
Because I could have fallen right next to our dining table and hit my head twice, which would have been bad. But because when that happens, you don't have any control over
where
you don't have
fall or anything.
yeah,
like
and
that.
you don't have any like muscles keeping you up or anything like that. You literally, it's just like a stiff board. It's like a stiff board just. Fall.
I've never done that before, but I've heard.
Yeah.
Of people doing it.
Now, one of the things that happened when I was, we mentioned this earlier. I've been in a lot of car accidents ever since I was a kid. I've been in car accidents because my mom's been in a car accident with my brother and I in there, where she didn't cause the accident. She got rear-ended by somebody, and then she would later got her car totaled out again because she's had her car totaled out twice by somebody. I've had an accident where I've accidentally hit somebody's trailer hitch, and that felt like that was like when I was really young. That was when I was like first got my license. I'd taken my brother's car out and I accidentally hit a trailer hitch, and it didn't really damage the car that much. It scratched it a little bit, but it wasn't anything horrible. And I pulled into the gas station to anticipating the guy to go there too. He didn't go. He didn't give a shit, I guess. So was
it a really old truck or something?
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably like, fuck it.
I don't even think he felt it, honestly, because it was just like a little tap. But I mean, I felt like I was gonna die because I thought my brother was gonna kill me. You know,
yeah.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh shit, he's gonna kill me. You know.
What did he do?
Well, I first lied about it. Lied about it.
No way.
Yeah, I lied about it, but then I later admitted it about what happened. And he was not happy about that. He was very mad. But there was the when the really bad one that I happened to me was on my way to. This is like when we first started talking again, my wife and I, Kelsey, and I had started talking to each other again and started dating. I was on my way to my brother's for his birthday, and we had, or I had, I was, it was raining. It was raining and it was wet out on the roads. And what happened was I'm on the highway. I'm driving in the fast lane. And people typically go about 10 over in the fast lane normally. And I'm driving, and then there is some cars slowing down in front of me. Well, and I was like, okay, they're starting to slow down. But I didn't realize they were actually like fully stopping. And what happened was a wheelbarrow had fallen out of somebody's truck or some vehicle and landed on the road. So I didn't realize they were stopping. And, by the time I hit the brakes, it's too late because the road's wet. So I'm hydroplaning right into the vehicle in front of me. And so I slam on the brakes as hard as I can, and I can't do anything about it. And I end up rear-ending the guy in front of me. And I hit the guy so hard that he had actually gotten knocked into the guy in front of him as well. So it was a 3-car accident. And the front end, the entire front end of the car is just destroyed. It is absolutely destroyed. Airbag deploys. And it really felt like that was the moment. Like I kind of felt like my life was flashing before my eyes, because it was just I had to have hit this guy because at close to 55 to 60 miles an hour, because there's just no way my car was going to stop.
No,
there was no way it was going to stop in that situation. And I end up getting fault for it at all but even though like there was an obvious reason for people to stop on the road, I mean, I guess it's still my fault for not
being able to stop in time.
Yeah, not being able to stop in time, or not keeping a safe distance is what people say. I mean, I was a pretty good ways away from the guy before I hit him. I would say probably about 5 car lengths away. But by the time I had already hit the brake, again, you can't stop that fast. You're not going to stop that fast on a wet road. So I get the car gets totaled out, and I mean, I was knocked out for a little while. I was probably unconscious for about a minute or two.
You didn't even tell me that.
Well, I mean, what?
You should have gone to the hospital and got checked out if you're unconscious.
Oh, well, I mean, you get the shock of getting the airbag deployed in your face kind of like puts you out for a little bit.
But not all the time. Anytime you go unconscious, you're supposed to go to the hospital.
I mean, I don't think I was unconscious, but I must have been, because I think I was sitting there for a little while. But I get out of the car. I mean, there's just smoke everywhere. There's, I have ringing in my ears from the airbag, because the airbag goes off. It's like a gunshot. You get tinnitus from that. My knee had kind of hurt for a little bit because it got put into the dash. My nose hurt from the airbag from getting deployed on it. I mean, it was it was painful. I mean, it went away. It wasn't a lasting pain, but it obviously hurt. And first thing I do is I get out of the car, I see if the other people are okay. I call my brother and my mom, tell them I got in an accident, call my dad. I call everybody to tell them I was in an accident.
But me.
We weren't dating yet.
But still.
We were just, I did call you later.
No, we were dating then.
Were we?
Yeah.
No, because it was on his birthday.
We were dating. Oh, okay. We started dating like
talking.
a week later. Yeah.
We were talking. We weren't dating yet. But, so I contacted them all. They ended up coming to meet me. My brother and my mom came to meet me where the accident was, because I needed a ride home because that vehicle was not driving. It was leaking fluids everywhere. It was bad. I still have the picture somewhere. I don't know where it's at exactly though. But she had, or not she, the person in front of me had their whole back end was
probably demolished.
It wasn't demolished, but it was definitely damaged. And the amount of damage from them getting bumped into the person wasn't really that significant. But the person in front of me did have a Cadillac, so that ended up like looking really bad on me. As far as my insurance rate went, it was really bad. I ended up having to pay a lot for that accident. It takes years for that stuff to come off of your insurance record, or for it to really affect your rates and stuff. It sucked. It was a really hard time for me because I believe about like not even a year before I'd accidentally rear-ended someone, and I just paid for that out of pocket because I didn't want to go through insurance. And it was just some piece of shit Jeep or something like that, but they wanted to replace the bumper, and it was like $1,000. So I just paid her back because I was still in college at the time too, and I just gave her like $100 a week for like 10 weeks.
And then you talk about how bad of a driver I am, and
yeah.
Talk about all the car accidents you've been in. Mine wasn't even a car accident. Mine could have been a car accident. So it's just like, he always gives me crap about it. So it just makes you laugh when he's like, "Oh, I'm the better driver," and I'm like, I don't think so, sir.
It's because I don't feel sick when I drive.
Well, that's because you get motion sickness.
I get motion sick.
So that's not anything on me.
I get motion sick. I know.
Yeah, so don't blame me for that.
It's her fault. Don't listen to her. It's her fault.
Whatever.
Anyway, so even to today, I still have these situations happen to me.
Don't talk anymore about these car accidents. Our insurance might drop us. Kidding.
Right. No.
They already know about all of that.
Right. Even to this day, I still have accidents like that. Like, there's the time where I slid, on my way home, I slid on ice from work one day. It was like 4 a.m. and in the middle of winter, and there was ice on the road. And I'd been at work for like 12 hours or something like. It was a really long time.
And then you worked your other job before you went in.
Yeah, so. I'd worked a long time, and I was just really tired. So I was really tired at the wheel on my way home, and I ended up sliding on some ice into a storm drain. Now it didn't it damaged the car a little, just scratched it up, but it's still like stuff like this happens to me all the time. I'm just attracted to I'm just a klutz. I'm just attracted to these car accidents, these incidents all the time. Even to the point where we were on our honeymoon.
I know. I almost became a widow.
Yeah, and my wife almost became a widow while we were on our honeymoon. So we went to Mexico for our honeymoon, and we ended up going on a few excursions because that's what you do when you go on a foreign trip or a location trip. You go on some excursions, things like that. And one of the places we went to was a lagoon. And a lagoon is where freshwater and saltwater kind of meet.
It was beautiful.
Yes, it was very nice. It was basically kind of like a coral reef almost type situation.
I think there were some coral reefs in there, to be completely honest.
Yeah, there were some. They were pretty deep. It was also not like the water wasn't exactly like super clear because it was a little green. But that's normal in lagoons because of the algae. So that was normal.
But it was only in like certain areas, and like most part, it was clear you can see all the way to the bottom, and it was like 30 feet deep in some spots, and you can see all the way down.
Yeah, and they gave us snorkels to wear, and we went in the water, and we had our own little guide that would take us around. He had, what did we have? We had like boogie boards or something to like help us stay afloat, wasn't it?
I don't think it was boogie boards. I think they were like life preservers, like
Life preservers. Okay, yeah.
like the like lifeguard ones that you would hold on to, because everyone had to have some type of life preserver in there just in case they weren't as strong a swimmer as they thought they were. But if you weren't a strong swimmer, they wanted you to wear a life vest.
Yeah, and so I know that they gave us something, and we had flippers and snorkels, but we don't have oxygen tanks to like really go deep or anything like that. But the tour guide was taking us around, and he showed us all these little hot spots for the fish and things like that. And then he brought us over to this little cove, and he's like, yeah, you can swim through there, and on the other side, you can pop up on the other side and see what's on the other side. And he's like, yeah, I can go over there. And he was like, you want to go over there? And he's like, you got to be a pretty strong swimmer, though. And I was like, yeah, I can. I was like, I think I can make it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the challenge. I'm going to take the Lagoon Cove challenge. And I went down, took a deep breath, went down, and I made it through. We made it through pretty easily. Like I was struggling a little bit at the end, but it wasn't like, I was like, okay, I need to get up now. Let's start going. And I started gunning it to the end. And I made it. So I was like, well, I made it there. I can make it back. So we start going back, and for some reason, I ended up letting out all my air, because normally when you go through stuff like that, you want to let your air out slowly. You don't want to exhale it all immediately, because then your lungs are empty, and then you want to inhale, and then when you inhale water, that's bad. So
that's called drowning.
Yes, that's drowning. Yes. So we had so the tour guide and I both went through. Nobody else did. My wife stayed behind because she didn't feel she could make it.
No, I was going to try, but you guys were coming back whenever I was going to try, so I was just waiting for you guys to come back.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually saw you get stuck under the rocks and him push you.
On the push me through?
Yeah, because he pushed you through the remainder of the cove that you had to go through.
On the way back, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he grabbed me and helped pull me through. So he more or less kind of saved my life. So I could have died there.
Yeah.
So on our way back, we decided, and it was nice. It was nice to see it. It wasn't anything like outside of what all the other stuff was, but it was nice. The whole experience is pretty nice. So we go back through again, and on the way through, I exhale all my air out way too early. So about halfway through, my lungs were completely empty. And it was at this point I was like, fuck, I need to start gunning it. So I just start kicking as hard as I can, and the guy looks back, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it. Help me. So he ended up. I think he saw that I was struggling too, so he grabbed me and helped pull me through. And I mean, Kelsey, what were you thinking when that happened?
I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna become a widow. Like, I was freaking out because I'm like, we just got married, we had just bought the house and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God,
in a foreign country.
In a foreign country, they're gonna think I murdered him. They're gonna think there's like some life insurance policy that I'm trying to cash in on. But in all reality, I would have gotten absolutely nothing because we didn't have anything set in place, Well,
it doesn't matter when something like that happens. It immediately goes to the widow.
Well, you don't have any policies, or do you? That you don't have me.
I have life insurance.
Oh, so
I told you that.
I guess I could have got some money then.
Yeah, you're gonna get like $35,000.
Nothing.
That's enough to pay for the funeral.
Yeah, but that's nothing to like. I'd rather have you than any type of money, anyways.
She'd rather have me than money.
Not a greedy person.
Yeah. But that, yeah, like even to this day, I still find myself in those situations like that. It's crazy how almost my whole life I've had these near-death experiences. And I mean, it's just fitting for the Halloween spirit and the Halloween season to kind of tell stories like that. You know, a lot of people tell ghost stories and scary stories, but none of that stuff's that's a lot of fictionalized stuff, and it's not really like real experiences that they've had where their life was in danger.
I have a fictional story that was semi-dangerous. Well, it wasn't fictional. This is really what happened, but...
Okay, well, let's hear Kelsey's fictionalized truth.
Well, it's not fiction, because this is what happened.
Let's hear her fake news.
It's not, whatever. It's not fake news. So, whenever we were in middle school, my family took a vacation with my cousin's family. And while we were down there, we went to Florida. And after we ate dinner, we'd always go walk the beach, because why not? You know, we're in the beach. Let's get as much time on the beach as possible. So we were just walking along the beach, and my mom thought she saw this shark, like tied up in a buoy, like a baby shark. So we were all like freaking out.
Baby shark.
Pretty much.
God, I hate that song.
And so there's all these other people walking on the beach as well. So we were trying to get somebody to be that had a flashlight, because this is before the days of cell phones. Mm-hmm. So we were like trying to get somebody to.
Well, it wasn't before cell phones. It was cell phones back then were bag phones.
Yeah. Well, not technically bag phones. They were like Motorola's. Like
the giant bricks, or are you talking about the Nokia like style ones?
No, it was before then. Like my mom had a little flip phone back then.
Okay.
And it wasn't like, it was a big thick. It was like a brick flip phone, but it wasn't like the Nokia brand.
Okay.
But anyways, then finally this runner came with the flat. Well, before this, like, oh my God, I'm a horrible storyteller.
It's okay.
While we were waiting for somebody with a flashlight to come, my dad and my Uncle Tom were in the ocean, like, trying to free the shark. They were trying to get close to it, so me and my cousins are all freaking out on the beach, like, don't get our dads are gonna die because this shark's gonna eat their legs and whatever. So we were all freaking out. Then finally, this person with a flashlight comes up, and they shine a light on it, and it was a bag stuck to the buoy. So we were all freaking out, thinking that our dad was going to get severely injured, but it was just a little...
It's just a bag on the buoy?
Yes, a bag stuck on the buoy, not a shark.
How could you not tell the difference?
It was pretty far out.
No.
Like, when the waves were coming in and out, it looked like the mouth was opening and closing. So
it's just there's jaws sitting out on the buoy.
Baby jaws. Just baby jaws, just going at it.
Baby jaws do.
Yeah, you can ask my cousins about it. They'll tell you the same story.
Oh man, I think I've heard enough of it. No, it's funny. It's a funny story. I enjoyed it.
You probably have heard it before, and you just weren't paying attention because we talk about it all the time.
No. Maybe. I don't know. You there's so many stories that you tell with your family around that it gets a little overwhelming sometimes. But I'm sure it's the same way for you when you're around mine.
I take it all in with stride.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for the Halloween story. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a good Halloween. I hope you get lots of candy because that's my favorite part of Halloween. And I hope you, have good experiences because Halloween's a time for really just enjoying the season, enjoying the time, and just having fun. So I think that's really important for people to have. Speaking of holidays, before we close things up, I do have something I want to talk about for the holidays.
Ew.
So because I mentioned this earlier, I'm bad with water. I drink a lot of soda, and I'm really need to cutting down on it. So I've actually been getting a little better with it. But one of the things that I saw in the store is this little can right here is called Coca-Cola Limited Edition Cinnamon Flavored Coca-Cola. And it's the most disgusting things you have ever wanted to try. So if you want to try to quit soda, grab a pack of these because they're not going to want you to make you want to drink any more of it because it's the absolute worst things I've ever had in my life. So don't buy Coca-Cola cinnamon. It's gross. So thanks again for joining us. Any final thoughts or things you want to say on there?
I would say if you're in our area, you want to bring your snowsuits for Halloween because it's supposed to snow tomorrow.
Yeah, it is supposed to snow tomorrow. Unfortunately, it is supposed to be pretty cold and snowy. Was in the upper 30s today, so but I mean that I don't really tell people what area we're in because I don't want to really put that out there, but thanks for doing that anyway.
Well, that's it's happening in all across like the Midwest.
Okay, now you narrowed it down even more. Thanks.
Well, so, obviously we're not in Florida.
Well, they might not have known that until now. But anyway, that's gonna be it before we give out our exact address. Thanks again for joining me, as well as thank you for joining me, Kelsey, on the show. I was very happy to have you on with me. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Good.
Would you have me again? Probably not.
No. Yes.
I see how it is. Fine.
No, I think I had fun. I had fun with you, so I think
you think you had fun.
Yeah, I think I might have had fun. I'm not sure. No, I had fun. So we'll try to maybe plan some more of these eventually in the future. But again, thanks for joining me. Make sure you guys check out the video on YouTube. Yeah, it's just search on YouTube, just another neckbeard. Still don't have a custom URL yet, but we'll get there eventually. Hopefully. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that other stupid YouTube garbage I kind of have to plug in order to help promote the show and help promote the channel. Hopefully going to get some more new types of stuff I want to bring to the channel as well to kind of bring it some more variety. So it's not just the podcast that I always do, even though I do enjoy doing the podcast. So thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say bye, Anna.
She's so cute.